A Dragonlance media production.
Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Dragonlance Media bringing you another book review today. This one I am incredibly excited to talk about. I am looking at Dragonlance, Dragons of Deceit. Now this is the first Dragonlance novel written by Margaret, Weis and Tracy Hickman since 2009's release of Dragons of an Hourglass Mage. Now, for those of you that don't know, I have been a huge fan of Dragonlance since I was a teenager. My brother actually got me interested in it when he told me to read a novel that he had picked up called Dragons of Autumn Twilight, part of the Dragonlance Chronicles trilogy that is Dragons of Autumn Twilight, Dragons of Winter Night, and Dragons of Spring Dawning, one of my favorite fantasy trilogies of all time. So when Wizards of the Coast announced that they were going to be releasing a 5th edition Dragonlance campaign, I damn near shit my pants. They also said that there was going to be a novel that was going to start a new Dragonlance trilogy written by the original creators of the Dragonlance setting. There was some legal issues at one point. Maybe it was going to come out, maybe it wasn't. That got settled and it was released this year, a few months ago, well, last month, I should say. And I have read it and I'm going to talk about it. Now, there might be a few spoilers. So in this introduction, I'm going to kind of give you a brief overview of what I thought. In case you want to read it yourself and you don't want the book spoiled, I certainly don't want to be the one to spoil it for you. The book takes place, it begins actually during the first 2 books of Chronicles, and then it moves on to basically go between the end of Dragonlance Legends and technically the 2nd generation, but seeing as my copy of that is somewhere else, Dragons of Summer Flame, which is relevant if you have read this book. Do you need to have read the previous Dragonlance books to enjoy this one? Fuck no. But if you have read them and you are a fan, you are going to freaking love this. I will tell you straight off the bat that this book is absolutely fantastic. They have created a story with new characters that weaves into the Dragonlance we know and love from the 80s all the way up to, I believe, 2009. And it is very well written, a lot of fun, just a fantastic fantasy novel all around. I highly recommend, if you want to get into Dragonlance, well, if you want to get into Dragonlance, start with Chronicles and work your way through. But this is a good jumping off point if you just want to read the newest book and see if you like it or not. Dragons of Deceit. This is, I believe, Volume 1 in the Dragonlance Destinies trilogy. Hopefully it's going to be a trilogy. So, with that said, we are now going to get into my review where there will be a few minor spoilers, which I wholeheartedly apologize for, but it's very difficult to talk about something like this without spoiling it a little bit. So if you don't want any spoilers, you can finish the video here, go watch something else on our channel, I should say, Dragonlance Media. We're fucking awesome. We've got shit coming out all the time. Dragonlance Media, follow us, please. I'm going to put this right here now for those of you that don't want to watch the rest of this video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button, do all that good stuff. And yeah, stay safe. See you in the next video. And read a fucking book, people. But for those of you that are sticking around, let's move into the next episode of... As I said in the introduction, this story weaves the characters together with like new characters and the old characters that we've come to know and love. The story begins around the same time as Dragons of Autumn Twilight. We get an introduction to the main family, the Rosethorn family. They're a family of knights of Solamnia. And the father has recently had a daughter. And according to knightly law, the daughter can't inherit the estate, and women can't become knights of Solamnia. It's a very patriarchal kind of organization. The daughter is called Destina Rosethorn, her father Gregory Rosethorn, and her mother, I believe the name is Atienne. I could be getting that wrong. But this is the family that we are introduced to at the beginning of the book. We learn a lot about Destina. She is the main character of the story. And ultimately what happens is her father senses that something bad is going to happen. The Queen of Darkness is amassing armies, and the armies are going to eventually spread into Solamnia. And he travels to the city of Palanthus to let the knightly order know that they need to amass an army. He's laughed off, but at this point we get to see a little bit of two characters that feature very prominently in Dragons of Winter Night, and that is the two Solamnic knights, Lord Gunther Uth Winston, and Derek Crownguard, the absolute prick of a son of a bitch from Dragons of Winter Night. And we get to see a little bit about what is going on there. Gregory Rosethorn ultimately cannot get them to listen to him. He goes back home, and his wife is like, you cannot travel to the High Clerist's Tower. You can't do it. Something bad's going to happen. The mother isn't Solamnic. She's from Urgoth, and she is all about nature and the god Chislev, and she can read tea leaves, and she sees omens and whatnot, and she senses something bad is going to happen. Destina, when she comes of age, her whole thing is to basically get married so that she can make sure the family keep is safe and whatnot, and there's a whole kind of side story there that ultimately goes nowhere, but it doesn't have to. That's not the point. Gregory is killed in the battle at the High Clerist's Tower, which those of you that have read Chronicles will know how that battle turns out and what exactly happens. This devastates the family. Her father had left a will saying that she would inherit everything, but that will is destroyed, and her cousin comes to take control of Rosethorn Castle, thus pushing her out. She is devastated by this. This was her legacy. She wanted to make her father proud, and now it's ultimately not going to happen. Her mother leaves after giving her a ring that is blessed by Chislev, the god of nature. And she ends up traveling to Palanthus. Now, one of the key parts of this story is the fact that her father was not only a Knight of the Crown. Those of you that are not familiar with Dragonlance, there are 3 knightly orders: the Crown, the Sword, and the Rose. Her father was very high up in the Knights of the Crown, but he was also a scholar who collected books, and one of the last books he was reading was a book on the legend of Hickman Dragonbane, and that is a story from the past, basically the Third Dragon War, where Hickman defeated Tarkhesis by using a Dragonlance, hence the name of the setting, Dragonlance. And it talks about his best friend Magius, who is a wizard, who wants to use what is called the device of time journeying to go back in time to save his betrothed, who was also Hickman's sister. You don't need to know any of that backstory, but it is important that Solamnic Knights distrust magic. So it was very rare that the hero of the Solamnic Knights was best friends with a wizard. That is something that will become prominent at the end of the novel itself. She reads this, sees her father's notes, realizes that if she can obtain the device of time journeying, she can go back in time to the High Clerist's Tower, stop her father from sacrificing himself, which he ultimately did, and everything would kind of go back to normal. So that is the crux of this story. It's about time travel. There's a lot more to it than that. The characters she meets along the way manipulate her. She befriends a dragon that had taken up residence in her lands. You can see the dragon on the cover of the book. That is Saber, the copper dragon. Now, for those of you that are familiar with Dragonlance legends, the device of time journeying was used by Justarius, the head of the Order of White Robes, or was it Parsalian? I think it was Parsalian. Anyway, to send Kyrnn, Raistlin, and Chrysania back in time. Tasselhoff Burfoot gets in on the action, and then the whole Legends thing kind of happens. So the device of time journeying is something that fans of Dragonlance will be familiar with. I was familiar with it. I thought it was really, really cool. She is manipulated into not only going after the device of time journeying, but also the Grey Gem, which, again, fans of Dragonlance are going to know what that is. It is a gem that contains the god Chaos, created by the god Raorx, who created the Dwarven race, possibly also the Kenda race. And so she travels to Thebarden, the Dwarven stronghold, to try and obtain the Grey Gem. And then she travels to Solace, because that is where certain characters reside, and she needs to talk to one of them. Now, those characters are, of course, Karen Magier, Tika Magier, and Tasselhoff Burfoot, who is a key player in this story. Now, I'm going to pause it here for 1 second. I don't like the way Tasselhoff was written. He's written like a fucking bumbling idiot for most of this story, and it just doesn't fit with the way that I remember him from Chronicles and Legends and Dragons of Summerflame and all those other kind of stories. But whatever. Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman wrote the original books. They would know better than anyone, but it just didn't sit well with me. But that could be because I'm remembering his character wrong from not having read these books in a long, long time. Ultimately, she befriends Tasselhoff. We get to see Karaman and Tika after, they have their first child Sturm, and then Tannen, and then their second child Sturm, or which other way around. So this falls between the second generation, where the children of Karaman and Tika have grown up. 2 of them have become knights, and the youngest, Palin, has become a wizard of high sorcery. So we get to see them as kids. At the same time, we see characters like Justarius and Dalamar the Dark, who is now the head of the Tower of High Sorcery in Palanthas, because Raistlin Magier has passed away. And so there's that side plot going on where they understand that it's dangerous that the Grey Gem has been found, and that they might possibly find the device of time journey. Ultimately, and this is a huge spoiler, that if you don't want to know what goes on, then, switch back. But ultimately what happens is Destina manages to get the device of time journeying and the Grey Gem with the help of Tasselhoff and brother Kyrnn, who is working in the Great Library in Palanthas, where Astinus, who is the presumably the god Galeen, who basically is writing down the history of everything that happens in the world in volumes and volumes and volumes of books. So she gets the device of time journeying, and they actually go back to the night that the heroes of the Lance met at the Inn of the Last Home at the very beginning of Dragons of Autumn Twilight, and that was fucking awesome. Things are different. Things have been changed. There's a whole lot of time travel rules. Nothing overly complicated or complex. But what ends up happening is that the device of time journeying gets smashed and people are thrown through the time stream. Kyrnn and Tika, back in the future, summon Tanis, half-elven, who immediately heads to Palanthas to speak to Astinus or even Dalamar. And Kyrnn and Tika are met with the Watcher of Souls, who asks them, you're the brother of Raistlin, you're the twin brother of Raistlin, is he here? And Kyrnn's like, no, he's dead. And the Watcher of Souls is like, his soul is missing, and so he's clearly not dead, he's alive. And then at the very end of the book, huge spoiler here, but I don't care, I'm so fucking excited about this. We find out that Sturm, who died in the High Clerist's Tower in Dragons of Winter Night, and Raistlin are alive with, I believe, Tasselhoff and Destina, and they have been thrown back to the beginning of the third Dragon War, which is the time of Humor Dragonbane and his friend Magius. And the way we know this is because they actually almost have a confrontation with them. But in the future, Tanis and Dalamar and Brother Kyrnn are with Astinus, and the history of Humor Dragonbane, Brother Kyrnn gets it from his study, and the pages are blank, and then they start writing themselves. And the book actually ends with... So the book is writing itself. This day, as above, morning watch falling 29, the red dragon Immolatus and the forces of the Dark Queen Tarkesis launched their assault on the High Clerist's Tower. The gods help us, Dalamar murmured. The third dragon war has begun, and our friends are in it, said Tanis. And that is how the book ends. Now, what is cool about this is the fact that Sturm and Raistlin are alive at this point, and that they never liked each other, because Sturm, the son of a Solamic Knight, and Raistlin, a magic user, they never liked each other, but now they have to work together, just like Humor and Magius worked together. So it's almost a reflection of that dynamic between two best friends and two enemies, but you have the knight and the wizard, and the knight and the wizard, and they are kind of having to work together. I cannot wait for the next book in this series, and I know usually it takes about a year for one of these books to come out, but oh my god, I am so excited to see what happens next with these characters. Destina Rosethorn. There's only one instance in this book where she shows her battle prowess, because her father taught her how to fight. She makes a lot of silly decisions, and she's overly emotional. But, you know, most fantasy characters at the beginning of a trilogy are like that, and I'm sure the character will come into her own as the story progresses. It was great seeing Caramon, Tika. We even got glimpses of Flint and Riverwind and Goldmoon and all of that good stuff. It struck so many chords with me. As I was reading this, I would say every chapter, maybe every 2 or 3 chapters, I would have to put the book down and then just kind of reflect on how this story weaves into the Dragonlance that I've known and loved for almost my entire fucking life. I thought this was an absolute masterful return to the world of Kyrnn, and I cannot recommend it enough. You even get, on the back of the book, an endorsement from Joe Manganiello, Hollywood actor who runs a celebrity Dungeons & Dragons, a weekly Dungeons & Dragons game for all of his celebrity friends. Now, there were a few little things that didn't sit right. Some of the descriptions where a character is described as having a sword, and then in the next sentence, they slash their axe. Little things like that, editorial problems. They also do try to kind of fit in some fan service. At one point, the wizard Ungar mentions that he has an artifact in his store, the Hand of Vecna, that was previously owned by Kyrnn the Cruel. Now, Vecna is a huge villain in Dungeons & Dragons lore, and the Hand of Vecna is an artifact where you can cut your hand off and put it on, but there's a chance that Vecna is going to inhabit your body. And the last time we heard about the Hand of Vecna, in the Critical Role series on YouTube, Joe Manganiello's character, Kyrnn the Cruel, manages to steal the Hand of Vecna, cut his own hand off, put it on, and teleport away, thus leaving his party to suffer whatever fate they do. And then he shows up again in Avernus in the Baldur's Gate campaign, where the characters can actually meet Kyrnn the Cruel, and he is trying to work out how to control the Hand of Vecna, and it is referenced in here. I mean, that's fine. It's just purely fan service. Wasn't necessary. Didn't add anything to the story. But yeah, there you go. So, Dragons of Deceit, a Dungeons & Dragons novel, classic Dragonlance, of course, by Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman. Absolutely loved it. Loved every minute of reading this fucking book. And when the next one comes out, I am going to go back and I'm going to read this again before I read the second one, just to refresh my memory. I really need to go back and read the Chronicles. You can see on the back, this top picture, and like these are the editions that we had. We didn't have the Larry Elmore covers, which had Tanis, Gold Moon, and Sturm Brightblade on them. But yeah, and then Legends with Larry Elmore art, and Dragons of Summer Flame. Okay, that's it for me. I've gone on a little bit too long with this one, but there you have it. Again, like, subscribe, hit the notification button, but most importantly, stay safe, have a fantastic rest of your day, and please read a fucking book, people.